Get out your notebooks. We're ready. Who was Anne Frank? Chapter 8. Caught. All right. By the time Anne had turned 15, the families had been in hiding for almost 2 years. More than 650 days. It was June 1944 when the war was drawing to a close. Italy, once an ally of Germany, had surrendered. The Allied forces were freeing France. On a map pinned to the wall of the annex, Otto kept track of the Allies' progress. That means the good guys. He was keeping track of where the good guys were. They were kicking those Nazis out. They were being stronger and saying, you guys got to go. To Anne, it was as if friends were approaching. She began to look ahead for freedom. So is Italy an ally still of Germany? No. And how long were they hiding? Over 2 years. And remember, when I put stuff up here, it means that it's important and that you could take notes on it. And these are important facts. Typically at school, it's always a rule that if a teacher writes something up, you should probably write it down. On July 15th, 1944, she wrote in her diary, what was her diary's name? Kitty, yeah. July 15th, 1944. I think it will all come right, that this cruelty too will end. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out. Written by Anne. So what I put up here I think is really important is we should learn the difference between idea versus ideals, okay? An idea is a thought or suggestion as to a possible course of action, something that you might do. I have an idea. Let's learn about Anne Frank. I have an idea. After this, we're going to learn about World War II. So that's an idea. They don't think it's a very good idea. Were the Nazis having good ideas?
Yes.
No. An ideal, satisfying one's conception of what is perfect, most suitable, existing only in imagination. You're my ideal of what a friend should be. It was an ideal for Hitler to have a world full of people like him, right?
Yeah.
So then to get to the ideal, satisfying the conception, so a thought of something that is perfect, his ideas were to kill people who did not share the ideal of a perfect world. No, it was not good. And his ideas were good or bad? Bad. All right. Here we have 2 leaders. During World War II, Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, the President of the United States, not only were united against the Germans, so they came together against the Germans, but were close personal friends. Roosevelt was serving his 3rd term as president when the United States joined the Allied forces in the end of 1941. That helped turn the tide of the war, and he and Churchill met secretly to coordinate the attacks against their common enemy. A victim of polio who was confined to a wheelchair, Franklin Roosevelt is considered one of the greatest of all presidents. Sadly, he died in April 1945, only months before the war ended. So we had a president who was in a wheelchair. Would Hitler like that? No, because he's disabled. And did Hitler like disabled people? No. But was he a smart guy? Yes. So he would have gotten rid of somebody who was very smart and made good change, right? Then, on the morning of August 4th, 1944, Peter heard loud shouting from below. Men's voices with guns raised. Nazi police stormed the annex. After so long, after being so careful, they were caught. It was all over. Someone had betrayed the people in the secret annex, but who? To this day, no one knows. Certainly, it was not any of the helpers. So, could they stay in the secret annex? No, they invaded it. They found them. And what do you think happened? Where do you think they went? Concentration camps. Good job. After Anne, this is important. After Anne and the others were let off, Meep sneaked to the annex. She wanted to get there before the Nazis returned to clear out everything. She found Anne's diary on the floor, pages scattered all over. She gathered them up as well as the Frank family's photos and locked them in a desk drawer. She hoped that after the war she would be able to return everything to the family. So she locked up all their stuff, right? As for the 8 people in the annex, all ended up going into a concentration camp in Poland called Auschwitz. Mr. Pfeiffer, Mr. Van Pels, Peter, and Otto were on the men's side, the boys' side. Anne, Margot, Edith, and Mrs. Van Pels went to the women's side. And what did they travel on? Do you remember? Trains. Look here, they're going on the train. At the camp, At the camp, most people were put to death right away. Life for those who weren't could hardly be called life at all. Survivors say it is impossible to describe how awful it was. Margot and Anne were later separated from their mother and sent to another camp in Germany called Bergen-Belsen. The girls struggled to survive, but both came down with a sickness called typhus. They died in 1945. In April, here we go, in April, British soldiers arrived and freed everyone left alive in the camp. War was over. USA and the British to the rescue. But it was too late for Anne Frank because she died a month before freedom. So sad. So let's recap it. They hid for how long? Over 2 years. Italy was an ally. Isn't an ally anymore? No. Good job, Miss Laura. And July 15th, 1944, she wrote in her diary that she has to uphold her ideals, what she thinks is going to happen, what is going to be perfect, what is going to happen in the future. She needs to stay strong, right? Because if she gets sad, is that going to help? No. And then what happened? What happened? The Nazis, who invaded? The Nazis invaded. The what? The secret annex where they were living. And they caught some of them or all of them? All of them. And they had to go into a concentration camp. And what do we know about concentration camps? Were girls and boys together or separate? Separate. So all the boys, Mr. Van Pels, Mr. Pfeiffer, Otto, and Peter went to the men's side. And the girls, Mrs. Van Pels, Edith, Anne, and Margot, went to the girls' side. But who got taken away? Margot and Anne. Did they go to Auschwitz? No, they went to Bergen-Belsen. And what happened there? They died. So Auschwitz is in Poland, Bergen-Belsen is in Germany, and they died in March 1945, 1 month before the rescue, because the British and the United States, they came in and they set everyone free, right? From Auschwitz, from everywhere. Because remember, Otto was putting dots where where the Allies were overtaking, right? Saying, goodbye, Nazis. You can't do that here. No more concentration camps.